Yugioh, Pokemon, Digimon, Beyblade. Long ago, the four IPs were played by elementary school children in harmony, but everything changed as Pokemon became the biggest media franchise ever, master of all the nostalgia. Only the fan base, kids who loved any or all of the other three could stop it. But we were barely 10, if that. We weren't making any meaningful contributions because nobody taught us about company stocks back then. If I could have been in some investor calls, things might have been different. I'm getting off topic. If you clicked on this video, chances are you like the thumbnail. Thanks, I drew that. If the title was what drew you in, then the fact that you're still here means that at least one of those franchises was a part of your childhood. No, I won't waste your time. I'm a casual power scaler, and I'm not here to internet beef about if Goku solos or not. But I love seeing the escalation in strength over time in your standard Dragon Ball-esque shonen, as well as the complete but random BS that gag series like Nichijou pull off. Part of the reason I consider these anime my childhood Mount Rushmore is because they put such insane power in the hands of kids like me through their gimmicks. Honestly, the reason why I personally, my parents, bought merchandise from these franchises is because I was a delusional child and I wanted universal destruction capabilities in the form of a spinning top, or to wield a dragon described as a powerful engine of destruction and virtually invincible. Another part was because the shows made me buy into the idea that having strong feelings and forming bonds with my inanimate objects would grant them a degree of sentience and also bond with me, becoming a lifelong ride or die I could rely on to deal with existential crises. Sadly, none of that came true, and since they never explicitly told me I would have those capabilities upon purchase, I probably can't win a lawsuit for false advertising. But I still formed a deep connection to each of these series, and 20 odd years later, I'm still tapped into some of their emotion. For starters, can I just say thank God these dropped pre-ADHD generation? Because I'm positive the only reason these franchises had such staying power is due to the era they were released in. I can't imagine any franchise post-2020 that can maintain its motion for over 2 decades the way these 4 series have. Also, quick shout out to Bakugan. It was also a childhood classic that duped me into buying merch, but it wasn't as crucial to me as the Elite Four I'm talking about. Okay, going in order I listed them in, I'll talk about my experience with Yu-Gi-Oh! Definitely the franchise I've sunk the most money into. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds was the one I remember seeing on TV as a kid, so bias tells me it's the best, but let me vent really quick. The Dark Signers arc is a top 5 arc in Yu-Gi-Oh! History, up there with Battle City, GX Season 3, the Barian Invasion, and Arc 5 up to the Miami Tournament. So much potential. That being said, they did my boy Leo so wrong. The Japanese ending foreshadowed Lifestream Dragon, which for dub-onlys is the evolution of Power Tool and Leo's Signer Dragon that you never got to see properly because they hoed him in the Dark Signers arc and never dubbed the final arc. Now, I'm not gonna claim that it's Crow's fault, since I truly have no clue what the fuck was happening in Studio Gallop that made them diverge from what was clearly their original plan. But I will claim that whatever happened, fucked 5Ds. Jack and Carly's relationship got negated and destroyed, Luna and Leo got maybe 2 more episodes about them, and poor Aki literally became a bench warmer. The cracks started to show in the second half of the Dark Signers arc, and sadly, it's basically unanimously agreed upon that the WRGP is worse overall, meaning the series took a dive in quality in the second half, which we hate to see. Okay, now that I'm done venting, time to glaze. First off, there were a few anime that were crucial in developing my tastes, and this was definitely one of them because oh my god, Aki was so bad to child me. The fit made my young eyes unsure where to focus, and I'm pretty sure her and one other notable anime woman gave me a weakness to red hair. And after we get through her character arc, she was geeked over the boy Yusei, and it was adorable. I would call her a tsundere done right, but after her arc, there's almost no Tsun. It's all dere. It's the best type of tsundere. In addition, compared to Yugi, not the Pharaoh, in Season 1 Jaden, Yusei was clearly meant to be a mature protagonist from jump, and childhood me was all about cool over goofy, so he was the ideal protagonist. He was level-headed and clever, a real ride or die, as we expect from our protagonists, and he rode a motorcycle. I know card games on motorcycles is a meme, which is fair because that concept is definitely hilariously ridiculous. But when you remember that this franchise is marketed at kids to emotionally manipulate their parents into spending money, you realize it's genius. Think about it. Cool looking guy, an older teenage main character with an edgy face tattoo, doing a cool looking thing, riding a motorcycle, while also using your product. And then the characters in the show glaze him for being saucy. How are kids not supposed to fall for that hook, line, and sinker? 5Ds was a show about class struggle and depression, about how a kind voice can be nefarious and manipulate the naive, about betrayal and whether the pursuit of one's own goals can go too far, about dying with regrets and what comes with accepting one's fate, at least in season 1. Then it became about uncovering the mystery of the secret society that stands atop the world and guides all events. Monokuma put it best. A time traveler is always guiding the course of history. But do we have the power to rise against the Iliaster, and guide our destinies with our own hands? Although it is an epic concept and a decent sequential follow-up in terms of power escalation from killing evil gods, the execution left a lot to be desired. That being said, even as a teenager with a more developed critical eye, I still enjoyed it. The second half had good character moments and hype moments as well. It just wasn't as full of development as the first half of 5Ds. Moving on to Pokemon, I vividly remember being tapped into Ash's Sinnoh League Victor's run. Throughout Sinnoh, Ash showed immaculate battle IQ, and the choreographers were really cooking. Ash used tech he picked up from Dawn's contest and used the battlefield in a way impossible in the game that made niggas want an anime-style game so bad. We all know that Ash's Sinnoh League team was hard. The Ultra Blaze Infernape that was a unique spin on the Charmander storyline, where rather than being a naturally boy, he had Gohan tier potential, but like Gohan, he was a D1 crash out need to learn to control it in order to reach peak performance. Once again, like Gohan, after an emotional breaking point, Monferno locked in and transformed into a Super Saiyan 2, evolved into an Infernape. One of my favorite moments was when Ash busted out Infernape vs. Volkner and Blaze activated. Everyone on Ash's side was worried, but not me and Ash, cause we knew Infernape already mastered Blaze. That was the whole reason he evolved. That was when we got a glimpse of an in-control Rage Demon, and oh, it was peak. It was like seeing Naruto use Kurama Chakra Mode for the first time and Blitz A like his pops did. But seriously, especially compared to the following generation, Ash had a solid squad in Sinnoh. In addition to Infernape, he had his breakdancing Weasel, who was one of his Pokemon using the contest tech in battle, creating Counter Shield and turning water moves into ice moves and spinning on niggas like a bait. We're getting to that in a second! Staraptor, the scrap demon bird, running moves like Close Combat and Brave Bird for big damage. Torterra, the mountaineer, because it felt like one of Ash's favorite moves was Rock Climb, but maybe I just really remember the animation. Gliscor, the acrobatic Lambat that was trying to get Weave Nation certified, and naturally, the OG Sparking Mouse Pikachu. If you noticed, I'm referring to his team versus Paul, which I think should be for obvious reasons, but to briefly elaborate, Paul might be one of the best written rivals in the Pokemon anime. I say might because I haven't watched every series, so maybe someone clears, but from my experience he's top 1. Aside from Sinnoh League victors, Gen 4 also produced quite possibly the single most impactful game I've ever played. Imagine you wake up on a beach. You're completely disoriented with blurry vision and a headache pounding through your skull, carrying you back into the dark void of unconsciousness. When you next open your eyes, a Pokemon is speaking words at you. You obviously remark on something so remarkable, but they call you an average-looking Pokemon talking just fine, confusing your human brain. You look at your reflection in the water and discover you are a Pokemon. Completely bewildered, you explain that you're actually a human to the talking Pokemon, and although they call you strange, they buy your crackpot story. They even try to relate to you by showing you a rock shard with an odd inscription that they like to imagine is the key to some legendary treasure or some sort of hidden land. At that moment, a bat with a mouth for a face and a meteor of stank sneak your new friend and rob the rock before running into a cave. You agree to help get it back and scrap in the back of the cave that turned out to be this ever-changing labyrinth called a mystery dungeon. Y'all beat the brakes off of those bums and caused them to cough up the relic fragment they stole. After returning to the beach, you and your new partner have a heart-to-heart, and they convince you to join them in a live-in exploration guild where they train to become professional explorers that raid mystery dungeons to find treasures to sell. They also suggest that this might help you recover your memory if you discover something about yourself tied to your past while exploring. Since you have no memory, and likely no human home in this world run by talking Pokemon, you go along with them and eventually become one of the guild recruits. In the process of stopping a child predator and exploring a cave hidden behind a waterfall, you learn you can see and hear the past or future when you touch certain objects. After a while, your guild goes on an expedition to confirm the existence of a rumored place called Fogbound Lake, said to house a legendary treasure. Supposedly, the treasure has a guardian who can erase memories, so you're hoping to gain some insight into your past, but no luck. The guardian has never seen a human before, but they can erase memories since they've been protecting a time gear. A gear that keeps time flowing properly as long as it's in place. They allow you and the guild to keep your memories of the lake since your guild has clout, and therefore seem trustworthy enough to not leak world-threatening information. Although the expedition didn't help you learn anything about yourself, it was more or less exactly why your partner wanted to become an explorer, so they're feeling really good when returning home. After getting back to the guild, a recently rising superstar explorer swings by the guild to inquire about the expedition results. Y'all have to cap due to the nature of what you discovered, but the guild and this guy have mutual respect, despite not being able to talk much about the expedition. After helping a child retrieve a stolen item from Lightning Hell, the explorer reveals your space-time defying ability is called the Dimensional Scream. Since he's reliable and knowledgeable, you and your partner open up a bit and get on a first-name basis with the nigga, but he cracks a grin when he hears your name like that shit's soft and he's trying not to roast. You all return to the guild together and learn somebody beat up the Fogbound Lake Guardian and stole the time gear, confusing the explorer you lied to and shocking the other guild members. After some honesty and an ask for assistance, you all work together to locate the remaining 2 time gears. Since you're the main character, you and your partner encounter another time gear guardian and scrap due to a misunderstanding, and end up getting third-party by the thief. You barely avoid getting frozen in time, and use your dimensional scream to locate the last gear. Making a mad dash for it before the thief finds it, you get there in time to see him slapping the shit out of the final guardian, and step up to stop him. Now, your team also gets their shit slammed, but you stall long enough for the famous explorer to pull up, reveal a long-standing beef with the thief, and chase the Chrono Crook who escaped because the Guardian sealed the time gear using a last resort measure. Back in town, the explorer reveals that he and the thief came from the future, and that taking the time gears will guide the world to a future of darkness where the planet is paralyzed. He then asks for aid in a plot to bait the burglar back to the last lake with the gear to capture him once and for all. With the successful execution of the plan, they send the thief forward to the future. Then the explorer suddenly snatches you and your partner and yanks y'all through the dimensional hole, leading you to the future. There, the explorer ties you and the thief to stockades and reveals that he's an agent of a corrupted time god sent to stop the thief from fixing the future's frozen fate. After 2 clutch escapes, including a run-in with the literal tyrant time god, you're back in your time. Except not really, because it was revealed that you actually came back from the future with the thief to save the timeline by taking the time gears to the Hidden Land. Now that you're back in the past, you're back on your mission. But now, you and your partner recruit the guild to help after learning time is freezing in increasingly expanding areas, indicating that the planet will soon be paralyzed and you're running out of time to prevent it. Eventually, the town elder tells the guild that getting to the Hidden Land requires bringing proof to a certain place, that being an indescribable pattern. You recall your partner's relic fragment, and lo and behold, the odd inscription it has is the proof to access the Hidden Land. You pull up to the place you need to be, where you re-link with the thief. Thanks to the guild telling the guardians the situation, he easily acquired the time gears, and you all set off for the Hidden Land to save the world. The crony of Poké-Chronos comes with his cavalry to cut you off, and after an intense fight, he seizes a moment when your partner leaves to prepare the transportation you're taking to raid the boss tower, and tells you that changing the future erases your timeline, and therefore your existence. Thanks to your amnesia, this is a shock to you, but your old partner from the future asks you to find the original resolve you came to this era with, and save the future of your current partner before he sacrifices himself to take the former famous explorer back to the future with him. You and your partner climb a crypt-themed collapsing clock tower of catastrophe to slot the time gears into place, but the final battle with the big bad in their home turf was inevitable. Bro thinks he's Thanos with the Time Stone, except instead of a gauntlet, he has ice on his neck. After a few attempts to annihilate you with angry shouting, you and your partner prove to be too powerful and apparently an unwipeable stain on his timeline, so you overcome him and stop the toppling of Temporal Tower. Thanks to your keeping the tower standing, the final boss recovers its sanity and thanks you before unparalyzing any area that was frozen in time during the collapse. You start heading back to tell your heroic story with your partner, but light begins to emanate from your body before you can even leave the Hidden Land. You have to reveal to your devastated partner that successfully saving the world meant the bad future would no longer exist, and anything from that bad future would also cease to exist. With your final words, you express your gratitude for the wonderful time you've had and tell them to remain strong and spread our team's legend so nobody does anything foolish to cause something like this again. In the end, you fade away into particles of light as your partner begs you to stay. Such peak. I'd say watch a cutscene movie of it, but it doesn't hit the same if you weren't in the dungeons. Please play the games. Hopefully Switch 2 drops an Explorers remake. Curse DX for giving me hope. Now for arguably the better series, Digimon. While Pokemon was my first monster tamer experience, the one I currently prefer is Digimon. In monster design alone, they clear. From badass designs like Jessamon, Imperial Dramon, or any Digimon with an X antibody suffix, to gooner bait like Mervamon, Rosemon, and Beelstarmon. I don't know if Digimon shaped my aesthetic for what cool is, or if they have someone at Bandai monitoring my accounts to keep Digimon tailored to me. But even if I haven't always been up to date with all Digimon news and games, I've always periodically checked in on Digimon because it was too cool for me to ever truly let go. In terms of my critical series, it's Digimon Data Squad without a doubt, or Digimon Savers for my cultured individuals. Marcus, step aside so I can beat this guy, Damon, is without a doubt my favorite protagonist. He dropped the classic leader goggles and put up some real leader knuckles. It didn't matter who stepped up to the plate. Everybody was getting rocked. His own partner Agumon caught the beats episode 1. His own teammate Thomas caught the hands a few times. Power Scalers rate his defense and endurance stat. Literal Flames caught an uppercut, the embodiment of the sin of sloth after it finally gets off its ass and locks in, got socked in the chest and got staggered. Bro punched a sword being thrust at him that even his mega level Shine Greymon was bracing to get stabbed by from a Royal Knight Digimon. Met the tip of the blade with his fist and stopped a Digimon the size of the Colossal Titan dead in its tracks. No damage on his fist, not a drop of blood. And it's not a 4Kids case where they don't show blood. One time, he fought a bird Digimon that wanted to be his little sister's partner. He not only beat its ass with no difficulty, he even allowed it to land a punch to his face, which caused his nose to bleed, but didn't make him take one step back. He then proceeded to call that bird a worthless bitch-ass nigga and punched it one more time to get the point across and told it to pack up. It's going back to the digital world. Bringing the point back. After Bro knocks the colossal Digimon off balance by pushing its sword back, he eventually breaks a shield that's supposed to be indestructible. And you think breaking the unbreakable would be the limit. But he goes beyond and punches the core embodiment of a multiversal tier god and one-taps it! A fight between Marcus Damon and Simone the Digger would be legendary. Aside from the anime, I've used my freedom as an adult to buy Digimon video games when I see them, so I've played a few. It's gonna be a hot take since I've played Time Stranger, but my favorite game is Survive. Despite the Gen 4 glaze in the previous section, Gen 5 is my favorite Pokemon generation. I'll never forgive how the community reacted to Unova, and I'm convinced the reason Pokemon games have deteriorated in terms of content per dollar is because Black and White flopped by Pokemon standards, where the following generation became that safe, corporate, empty, easy slop and sword. I bring that up to say, one of my favorite games is Pokemon Conquest, and it gave me a fondness for tactical RPGs that are experienced like visual novels. I think having an online mode for games like that would be fun, but I'm content with just experiencing the stories the devs script out. If I had to ask for a custom Digimon game though, there'd be a few things I would want. I'm obsessed with personality quizzes and games because of Mystery Dungeon, so I would love a Digimon RPG where your gameplay character is determined by your answers to a questionnaire, and that would determine the type of Digivolution you had in-game. So answering a certain way means you may get a Vmon, so throughout the game you could armor evolve, or you could go through regular Digivolution, or even Jogress if you achieve the right conditions. Alternatively, you may answer in a way to get the human spirit of fire, and you spirit evolve into a Goonimon, or even end up with Shoutmon and achieve a bunch of Digicrosses. I don't need a game where every decision matters to the story, although that would be fire, but having a few key moments where having a certain Digimon or answering a certain way affects the direction of the story would be really cool, and give the game a lot of replayability, which I think games try to achieve nowadays through DLC instead of clever base content. Like I said, I like TRPGs, and I would enjoy online matches against other people. Because of that, I cannot recommend that they do the Time Stranger technique of letting every Mon get max stats. My recommendation would be to allow the player to evolve mid-battle for explosive strength increases or strategic attribute changes, while all NPCs maintain whatever stage they're in, and depending on their evolution stage and individual level, they have a maximum amount of stat points that can be distributed at the player's discretion. I think stats for the stages of evolution should be differentiated by orders of magnitude, meaning in training have single to double digit stats, rookies have triple digit stats, champions are in the thousands, ultimates in the tens of thousands, and megas in the hundreds of thousands. There could be exceptions, like if a champion Digimon's lore says they have the attack power to defeat ultimates, their attack stats can breach the 10,000s and stuff like that. Since it's a JRPG, it naturally has to end with fighting one of the server gods, Homeostasis, Yggdrasil, or Kunlun. But whether you win or not is up to Bandai. There are lore implications and power scaling to consider, so you can't necessarily get a clean-cut, clear, "you killed them" victory, but it also shouldn't be a completely scripted fight where you get an unearned victory. That would be too unimpactful. Either way, I'm no game designer, so all I can ask is that Bandai do this Digimon Survive Online-esque idea. Last but not least, the final franchise on my Mount Rushmore is Beyblade. It was actually the first on this Mount Rushmore that I consistently played with other people in real life. Not many kids brought their DS's to school, which is understandable, too high risk in the slimy halls of elementary school. And I only watched the Yugioh anime because my little kitty mind was in the Season 1 settings, not one rule, just vibes and numbers. And I didn't even know Digimon was more than an anime. In that sense, maybe I saved the best for last. Let's be real. If you use my previous picks to triangulate the time that I watch these, you could probably deduce that my favorite base series is Metal Fight. I'll admit that I only dabbled in Shogun Steel, and for the old heads, yes, I watched the OG Plastic Gen. I messed with Kai as a character, but out of Dragoon, Drasil, Dronzer, and Drigger, one of them is clearly more hilarious if you think about what they sound like. Now, I hope we remember the memes about Kenta benching 3 plates in order to get nice, Jinka in space booming a meteor, and the infamous historical fact that Moses was confirmed to have used a bay, I think it was implied to be El Drago, to part the Red Sea. I want to focus on a couple feats and statements that stick out to me. For example, one of the hardest anime entrances of all time was when Ryuga pulled up on Team Excalibur, and rather than fighting like peasants in the forest grass, he called upon his bae from among the literal meteor shower he spawned in behind him to create a clean bae stadium. That's just light work though. If you don't know, each iteration of Metal Fight had a new evolution for Pegasus. From the manga pre-hybrid wheels to the form it takes in Metal Fusion, Storm Pegasus, to Galaxy Pegasus and Metal Masters. There's its legendary Blader evolution to Big Bang or Cosmic Pegasus, then its Synchrom stock combo of Samurai Pegasus. With all these different forms, you can't help but wonder if the original meteor that Pegasus and subsequent bays were made out of was really a fragment from planet Vegeta. But if Pegasus and Jinka were the Goku of the Beyblade universe, they aren't, that's literally King and Very Aries, then my dog Kyoya was the Vegeta. Let me hype him up really quick. In the World Tournament, Team Japan and Team America faced off in the finals. America's Ace Blader wielded Hell Cerberus, or Hades Kerbex in the dub, and had one of the most devious special moves of all time. Now, in Beyblade, there are a variety of special moves. You have your standard hard hit like the Star Blast attack in Dragon Emperor Supreme Flight. your environmental effect moves like the Lion Gale Force Wall and Sonic Buster, and your more unique or niche ones like Burn Wolf from the Russian team being able to just levitate, and Ionis from the Battle Dome turning invisible. The most busted kind of special move in terms of a technical standpoint though has to be the domain expansions. Shocker. Hell Cerberus literally spawns in the gate to hell from Bleach when a hollow is evil as a human and launches a chain to wrap around the opponent's base spirit. In the OG they were called Bit Beasts, but I don't think they were ever explicitly named in Metal Fight. That it forcefully summons from the opponent's bay and pulls it into the gate. To the audience, the rest is a mystery, and then the bay is just spat from the gates defeated. The MC Jinka got pulled in alongside Pegasus and literally fought his way out of hell after going through a kill boss battle. Shout out Shackle Regalia. After the MC won, America, using money and science, uploaded patch notes into Hell Cerberus' blader in his bay so he was even stronger. And then my dog Kyoya pulled up on him. Bro was talking heavy and managed to pull Kyoya and Leon into his we got Jogo at home ass domain expansion, so he thought it was GG's, but Kyoya overwrote his domain expansion with his own willpower. Keep in mind, Kyoya doesn't have a domain expansion special move. He just used his base spirit to overwhelm his opponent and literally took control of the domain expansion for a counterattack. Cerberus eventually got control back, but the blader was already shook, so it was just a matter of time before Kyoya beat him as well. So how, you ask, is he Vegeta when he beat a powered up version of an opponent that the MC struggled with? To prove my point, allow me to tell you about the time he found tornadoes to scrap with. After Metal Fusion, Storm Pegasus got that plot armor evolution into Galaxy Pegasus, but even though Kyoya and Jinka were rivals, Rock Leon was hated by the writers for some reason and didn't get an upgrade until Fang Leon. Let me go on another rant. Takara, tell me, what did y'all have against Leon? Because Big Bang Pegasus had 3 different modes and the Final Drive Performance Spin Track Hybrid that the 4D system introduced. Meanwhile, Leon got a counter mode to slightly increase recoil and the W2D tip, which is decent life after death and counterattack, but that shit has no balance. I would have preferred getting a metal-wide ball, but I digress. The point is, Takara Tomy showed the high and low end adjustments that the 4D system could bring with these 2 bays, and my dog got the short end of the stick. He didn't even get a driver or a 3rd mode. Bro's upgrade was comparable to Masamune, and while Blitz Striker is really cool, Leon is supposed to be legendary. How are man-made custom parts comparable to cosmic divine intervention improving your bay? It doesn't make sense to me. This leads me back to my point that the writers hate Leon and Kyoya. Since he didn't get an upgrade for Metal Masters, all he could do was lab. His special moves all generated tornadoes, so he figured he might as well do some live field research. This research was more than observational, however. He was just like me as a kid, launching my Beyblade into literally anything. Unlike me, however, his bay actually had destructive capacity beyond a baseball and straight up negated the tornadoes. I'm pretty sure he was in Africa doing this, so my motherland niggas had to be baffled watching their natural disasters randomly disperse at the roar of a lion. Low-key wouldn't be surprised if he had a village treating him like a deity after that shit like Ryuga did in Metal Fury. Speaking of my goat, the last feat I want to talk about is what he did at the end of Metal Masters. Before I do that though, I have to properly establish what we're talking about. Beyblade is ridiculous. Inside these spinning tops are the spirits of legendary gods, mythical beasts, and a compass? Anyways, these titles aren't just for show. For example, Jinka's Bay Pegasus has a special move called Star Blast Attack, then later upgraded to Star Booster Attack. Since Pegasus is a winged horse, the special move involved flying into space, then crashing back down at terminal velocity onto the opponent's bay. And when I say he didn't miss, he may have been deflected or interrupted, but whenever it was used, that nigga was hitting something. Pause. As I said at the start, I'm a casual power scaler, no calcs here. But using general logic and knowledge of physics, A Bay falling from space, moving at likely light/faster than light speeds because it's exiting and re-entering the atmosphere in seconds, and usually colliding with basically the surface because bays are palm-sized, except for the compass one, would have to be at least town or city level destruction in real life on impact, unless we're assuming the speed allows the bay to pierce the earth without causing extraneous damage. But in the show, bays are like fucking bombs. They blow up and blow other shit up, and sometimes from a theoretical distance they blow shit up. Like sometimes the projectiles get stopped and it's the bays clashing, or the projectiles are like magic blasts coming from the bay spirit and they just get dispersed. It's a little unclear. I say all of this to highlight that special moves are not illusions. They create real impact, and the spirits are implied to have physical mass, like Jinka riding Pegasus when he was trapped in hell. I refuse to believe he was actually just sitting on top of his Beyblade and that was some metaphor. So, when bays do shit, it is real. Pegasus' Stormbringer special move really created an updraft strong enough to lift Beyblades off the ground by circling the stadium so fast that its rubber performance tip caught fire and blazed a path on the Baystone Stadium. And I'm calling it Baystone because it's more durable than it has any right to be, considering the power being flung around inside them. Gravity Destroyer really fought using targeted enhanced gravitational pockets. Varieris really spawns a lightning bolt from Mars for its King of Thunder sword. Now that we're clear on this, we have to discuss Twisted Tempo. In Metal Masters, the main secondary character Masamune left his friends in America behind to join the tournament on Team Japan because Jinka won Battle Bladers in Metal Fusion. One of his friends from America, Zio, joined the American team to get a bag and save their other friend Toby's life. Masamune had no clue Toby was sick, and Team America's backer was paying for the medical treatment on the stipulation that Zio performed in Worlds. Luckily for him, he accomplished that by being the only nigga on Team America to win in the finals. Low-key, if I was watching on TV, I would have been pissed, because Japan cheated with that Ryuga shit, even though technically it was legal because he was the finalist in Battle Bladers. We know it's some bullshit. Anyways, naturally, since they were the finals competitor, America were the final villains. So the American sponsor not only gave Toby the medical treatment, but also hit him with an enhanced patch notes that the American ace got and gifted him with arguably the most cracked bay in the whole series, Twisted Tempo, or Basalt Horogium if you're a purist. Now you gotta keep in mind that the American sponsor is an egomaniac with greed even the Bible would only talk about in myth. But he calls Tempo the strongest bay in the world, nay, the universe. Quoted. Kinda. And while it might sound like glaze, he really had no reason to think he was wrong after we see what it can do. Because after explaining how he utilized Einstein's theory of relativity to create a bay with a strong enough gravitational force to bend light, space, and time, Toby says, Hisatsu, Ryoiki Tenkai, Rasen no Jigen, and creates a pocket universe with stars in what looks like a galaxy with a black hole in its center. Toby literally confirms that it is in fact a black hole and pulls them into the eternal darkness, while on the outside, it appears as though they are frozen in time, reacting to the special move casting. This is why I said domain expansion special moves are the most cracked. Dude created a pocket dimension with stars and a black hole that also simultaneously froze time because Einstein laid the foundation for America to build off of. By all accounts, Jinka and Masamune should have lost. But the GOAT, Ryuga, decided to snipe the floating city they were in, destroying the pocket dimension and ripping through the black hole as collateral, and take care of the maker of his inner demons with his own hands. And the craziest part about this is that everything in Metal Fury is theoretically just an upscale from this. Although I think it would be fair to argue that Ryuga and Medio El Drago would be able to hang in Fury without getting the legendary upgrade. But I digress. Those 4 series are my childhood Mount Rushmore. Thanks for listening, and I hope you join me in my next Yap Sesh. Although, there is one thing I have to come clean about. I lied at the beginning when I said I wouldn't waste your time, because if you clicked on this video for the thumbnail, then there might have been something you hoped we would talk about but haven't. That's right! I mean rivals. Seto Kaiba, Ryuga, Leon, I guess. And I drew Tai because Matt has a wolf, not a dragon, so it didn't match aesthetically. Okay, so maybe you're here for dragons, not rivals. But we can compromise a bit and just talk about rivals with dragons. Full of arrogance and pride, dragon wielders typically search for good strength to test themselves while disrespecting, flexing on, or otherwise raising their nose to fodder niggas and irrelevance. In other words, battle maniacs. My favorite character archetype. There's nothing better than a good smoke demon in my opinion. Keep the words brief and the hands exquisite, and you have a fan forever in me. Men like Seto Kaiba and Ryuga embody different aspects of the draconic battle maniac rival. But if you caught my very subtle reference earlier when talking about Yugioh, then maybe one more character comes to mind. Yup, I mean Volley goddamn Lucifer, controller of the Vanishing Dragon, the White Dragon Emperor himself! Volley is a bastard child born from an affair between a human woman and the original Lucifer before he, some of the other original devils, and God died in a war between devils, angels, and fallen angels. Because he was born with the magic capacity of a high-class devil and human blood capable of receiving a sacred gear, and raised by the strategic leader of the fallen angels, Azazel, he's considered a prodigy only seen once in a millennium. With all his power, daddy issues, and otherwise negative influences, he decided his goal in life was to find any other beings at his tier of strength and scrap with them. To that end, he established the Chaos Brigade, a group of smoke demons trying to fuck up the politics between gods and other sacred races, mainly comprised of legendary human descendants like Sun Wukong and King Arthur. He literally wants to plunge the world into chaos just to have good fights. A true smoke demon. In comparison, Ryuga was initially overwhelmed by the dark power and sought to destroy the world under its influence, but after locking in and overcoming it, he hunted down the source of the Dark Nebula, who originally manipulated him into giving in to the dark power to begin with when he stole El Drago, then wandered the world in search of legendary niggas to battle and steal their power for his own. His battle craze was specifically targeted towards certain niggas, while Volley was more about smoke for everybody. As opposed to those two, Kaiba wanted to fight for two reasons: his own interest, and to prove he was better than Yugi. The Yugi hate boner aside, if Kaiba was dueling, it was because there was something on the line for him. He wanted to be the best at whatever he did. A perfect example is in the Dark Side of Dimensions movie, when he crushed that Kaiba Corp bottle in his hand and then fired whoever made that weak shit cause Kaiba Corp doesn't drop trash. If Kaiba Corp is gonna put out something, it was gonna be top of the line shit. Like, bro flipped his pop's military business into a trading card company that literally took over the world's economy. Bro lost Duelist Kingdom, so he went the Thanos route and said, fine, I'll do it myself. And held Battle City so he could legally steal people's best cards while also getting the salty run back with Yugi. He dueled Pegasus to get his little bro's soul back and threatened to send himself from the field to the graveyard if Yugi beat him. He gave a random nigga rare cards to duel just so he could drop Obelisk on his head and laugh maniacally. And in the Waking the Dragons arc, bro blessed the card dealer with a Kaiba Corp check just so he could take the card without any hassle and make it to the final fade on time. He's not accepting any challenges or even specifically looking for them like the other two, but Kaiba is a different type of smoke demon. Calculated, precise, targeted. Finally, although they don't fit the draconic theme, pre-series Kyo Sawashiro and the Star of Fire of the Gogyosei, Kaito Kutsuna from Digimon Beat Break, are confirmed battle maniacs who joined the World Organization just to fight stronger Digimon. My real question, since Beat Break hasn't revealed it so far despite being 36 episodes deep, is what caused Kyo to go from a kid with something to prove to a man on a mission to protect Digimon? If you haven't yet, I recommend watching Digimon Beat Break. It's not animated by Ufotable or anything, but Toei has been pretty good with it, and the story starts off by giving you a reason to care about the main character and how the relationship with his Digimon grows. It tackles things like expectations and how they can be crushing, whether they're self-imposed or externally implied. Things like whether self-sacrifice is justified and how far before it's too far. Like if taking extreme measures to do what would widely be considered a good thing is actually good or not. And the importance of family and bonds, although that last one is really par for the course for when it comes to Digimon, or really any monster taming genre in general. Alright, this time I'm serious. Thanks for sticking around to listen to me glaze a bit. Make sure to like if you did, and if you like my art, follow my Instagram and peep my Patreon. If you thought my video script was engaging and entertaining, you'll enjoy my creative work there. I'm writing a novel and the first 3 chapters are free. The first arc is concluded and the second one is in progress. If you want my first draft chapters before I look over the arc for revision, I'm publishing chapters as I finish them on DeviantArt, but there may be some inconsistencies between that version and the official Patreon version. Just consider them 2 separate yet extremely similar timelines. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.